Welcome back. In this video, we'll talk about the Generate Rows tool inside Alteryx in the Preparation tab. Now, as the name says, Generate Rows will create new separate rows from scratch, or it will multiply the number of rows you have. Now, before we begin, what I'll do is I'll just save this workflow, Control S, and I'll just give the name as S4 Preparation tab Data Cleansing 2. Now I'll just create a new workflow here. What data I'll pick up? Input data. I'll pick up the same data which I've done from there, but I'll show you a new method here. I'll not pick up this one, so I'll just delete this one. From the previous workflow, I can just right click and copy. You see, I can right click and copy that tool, and then I can paste into new workflow. It's possible. You can simply copy paste the workflow. No need to bring it again and again. That's easy method. When I execute the number of records, if you see, I have 10,008 records. The very first thing I should do a data cleansing. So why not copy the same thing? Okay. Why not copy the data cleansing, which is for removing the null rows and null columns from here and execute. So if I get an output, I'm getting 10,000 records as an output. Now, before we begin in the preparation tab, I would like to show you generate rows as an independent, tool. So when I drag and drop it here, you see, even if it is grayed out or white color, it means it can work independently. No need of creating or connecting with some other data. Now here, if I select the option and I just click on run button. When I click on run button, this will give me the output from row number 1 to row number 10 by default. You see 10 records starting from row number 1, row count 1 to row count 10. Now why it has given? If you observe in the configuration window on the left hand side, it has created a loop that column name equal to 1, the value should be less than equal to 10 and row count plus 1. Now people who are from a coding background, they might understand easily. It's while loop, do while loop, any different names you can give it. So here let us understand what it has done. It has told that the column name should be row count. It has created a new field row count. They have assigned a value given as 1. So from 1, it will keep on incrementing row count plus 1, row count plus 1 like this, and then it will work till it is less than equal to 10. Okay, from 1 to 10. Suppose if I tell them it should work till 5, and if I click on run button, it will give you the numbers only till 5. So here you're defining the maximum limit till which the output should be given. So this is row count less than equal to 5. Suppose if you write as less than equal to 10, and here if I tell them row count plus 2. So what will happen is it will give you incremented by 2. 1 plus 2, 3, 3 plus 2, 5, 5 plus 2, 7, and so on. So this is row count plus 2 it has given. Now, this tool is working independently. Very few tools are available inside preparation tab which works independently. And one of them is generate rows. Now, how do you utilize this example in the previous data? But before we proceed ahead, you can see the row count which is given. I can write as X, Y, Z. Any column name you can give as X, Y, Z. So if I click on run button, I will get an error. So saying that there's no row count now, that is X, Y, Z. Okay, X, Y, Z, and here also X, Y, Z. Now when I click on run button, the name of the column would be X, Y, Z because I have changed the name. I have changed the name in the condition and the loop expression, all three places. Now what I'll do is I'll come back and just replace at plus 1 and I'll tell them till 5. Okay, till 5 I want the data, and if I click on run button, now I'm just getting 5 records. Now if I connect this output anchor of data cleansing to the input anchor of generate rows, what will happen? Currently I have how many records? 10,000 records. When I click on run button, what is the output I'm getting? If I click here and if I click on the output anchor, I'm getting 50,000 records. So what it has done is 10,000 records, and this is giving how many records? 5 records. 10,000 records, 5 times they are repeated, it will give you 50,000 records. So what actually has happened is row number 1 would be repeated 5 times, row number 2 would be repeated 5 times, and same way every row would be repeated 5 times. So if I scroll on the right hand side, you can see every row will have unique number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, why do we need this data? Sometimes you want to duplicate the data for analysis purpose. So then you can use this generate rows example. Also, if you want, you can change this value which is given as 5 or 1 with any column. Okay, any column in the sense you can replace with quantity, you can replace with discount and so on. Then you can get the different outputs. But for time being, you understand that whenever you have the data, and you want to duplicate the data with n number of records, you can do that. Each record would be repeated 5 times. If you want each record to be repeated, let's say 7 times, I'll just click on run button after typing 7. And you see this will be repeated how many times? 7 times. Number one. Okay. So I'll just give you a rough example. There is a customer which has quantity 2, quantity 3, and quantity 4. So every quantity which is given here, 4 should be repeated 4 times, 2 should be repeated 2 times, and 3 should be repeated 3 times. So that time, instead of writing 7 value, you can write a quantity column here. So that is also possible here. Let me show you an example. I think we have an example here. Suppose I have the column given as quantity. You see quantity 2, quantity 2, quantity 3, and so on. Here I can just replace this 7 number with quantity. Now it's difficult to understand how do we write it. So I can take help of this 3 dots on the right hand side, and here I can show you the column names. These are all the column names. I'll select quantity, Control Z, quantity, and I can click on OK. So you see less than equal to quantity, and I can click on run button. Now what will happen is you're getting some odd number 37,885. Let me tell you what exactly has happened. So if you observe here, if we have quantity given as let's say 2, it will be repeated 2 times, 1 and 2. Okay. If you have the quantity let's say 3, okay, please observe 3, it will give you 1, 2, 3. So remember, these are all one values. These are not multiple values. That's only one value here. If it is given as 5, this will be repeated 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the unique number would be given to that data set. Okay. So if the quantity is 7, let me show you. If the quantity is given as 7, it will be repeated 7 times. This number would be unique. This is just a duplicate. Carefully observe, the 7 which is written is repeated 7 times. Okay. This can be a case study which can be utilized in the company. Any relevant example you can use it. Okay. So in short, generate rows has two examples. One is generating 1 to 10, 1 to 100 random numbers in the sequential numbers. And second is connecting with the input data and duplicating the data based on some condition. Okay. I hope you have understood how do you work on generate rows in Alteryx. That's all for this video.